Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the special transmission of our English show in Aina Absar. Today we have a plan to discuss the post-inauguration situation in USA, and this would be our one of the topics. The other would be that because we are taking a fresh start for an English program on regular basis. In the start it may be once in a month, or then finally once in 2 weeks, and maybe by the end of the year we would be able to make it a weekly English program for our audience. And today with me is our partner host and my guest, Dr. Steve Kelsey from London. And first of all, I welcome Dr. Steve, and then we can continue mutually. I think most of the time there would be the questions and the discussion topics, and I hope so that Dr. Steve would lead the discussion. Welcome, Dr. Steve, in our program.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here again.
And do you hear us fine in your headphones, and everything is okay from your side?
Yes, I hear you very well. Thank you.
Thank you. So nice of you. So as you were listening, that our today's discussion agenda starts from the post-inauguration situation in the USA, because last time you came and you have a very you had a real tangible input in our program. So I think that we should take start with the same agenda and the same situation. Yes.
Super. Yes, absolutely.
How do you find that? Okay, inauguration speech has been done and everything is now fine-tuned. But what's your opinion in the post-inauguration situation in USA?
Well, I think probably all of us, when we saw the inauguration and what's happening, there's been what I would say a collective sigh of relief. I think all of us were like thinking, will this really happen? And it happened, and the transmission of power has taken place. And I think all of us were just very, very relieved. And I guess the first question is, why are we relieved?
Yeah.
That Biden has become the president and Trump has left the office. So I have an opinion on that, but I'll ask you about it. Why do you think many of us felt relief, or are feeling relief, because of the new presidency? So what's your thoughts?
I think so that whatever was going on in America, that was not infecting and inflicting only just the geographical boundaries of USA, but it was having, and it was showing the real impact around the globe. So this may be the first reason. The second is that human behavior does not and never it entertains the implemented sort of authority. Authority should be a two-way phenomena. I think that both of these problems was prevalent in USA. So people around the world, they were actually holding their breath, and now they are relieving the sigh of breath, as you said.
Yes, I agree with you, and I think one of the things maybe for those of us outside the US have come to realize is the US really does represent such a powerful and privileged position in the world. Yeah. And although I think Trump is only a manifestation of maybe bigger issues, the office of the presidency does wield influence across Europe, across the UK, and across the rest of the world. And that change from an individual, and maybe an individual backed by a large swath of opinion, I think many of us really felt it in our body, that things have changed. And the effect that Trump and his administration was having has Well, that's another question. Has it really gone away? Or are we in a sort of a honeymoon position where it looks like it's finished? He's gone back to Florida.
Do you think it is really finished?
We can all relax.
Do you think it is really finished?
Well, I have two things really. I have a great deal of optimism about what's happened.
Yeah.
But I also have a lot of fear.
Okay.
And if I start with the fear is, in the US and probably more importantly across the world, inequality in all its areas, wealth, money, power, is still rampant. There's still a great deal of inequality. And I was just reading a report today that maybe you have some thoughts on as well, about the vaccine for the coronavirus.
Yeah.
And how wealthy countries like the US, like the UK, have a much stronger opportunity to buy the vaccine and use a vaccine for its population than poorer countries.
Yeah.
So one of my fears is that inequality, which is a good example, is the vaccine purchasing, the vaccine. Will that change? Will Biden and his administration, will they really impact the situation, or will the status quo of inequality remain? So that's one of my fears. The second thing is another fear I have, and it may be maybe we'll talk about this in later episodes. I'm very interested in the environment and in sustainability.
Yeah.
And I have a big fear that we are damaging the earth. We're polluting the earth with CO, with plastics, and all sorts of other ways that I think is really detrimental.
I interrupt for a while that we are polluting and we are interrupting the earth by all means possible for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it looks, my fear is, even though that I have some optimism, that Biden is actually putting this issue at the front of his administration. And that feeds me with optimism. However, will he be able to really do that? Does he really believe that? Will the US is probably the biggest polluting, certainly one of the biggest polluting countries in the world. Will he and will they really make a difference there? And I have both optimism, but I also have pessimism.
Okay.
So that's another question or another challenge that people may want to think about. Where will we go in the next 4 years from a US perspective?
That's in the personal capacity. I mean, we have many reasons to be optimistic. When we see the Joe Biden, his personal life, his personal sufferings, and then even the collective US suffering in last 4 years, as they have seen, because the 6th January is the outcome of the 4 years, as their own analysts are saying on the media, that this is 6th January is not something which happens spontaneously or just on the 6th of January. It is the outcome of the 4 years lies and policies and sort of supremacist approach and thought.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things you and I discussed is there was a reason for Trump, and there was a lot of people who supported him, who believed in him, and with some exceptions, of course, but on the whole, these are normal people who have fears, who have anxieties, who have dreams and ambitions.
Okay.
What's going to happen to, and I think it's, whether it's 70 million or 150 million, who knows. A lot of people felt that Trump was going to help them. Now, I don't believe that he really would have or did, but there's a real belief, a real feeling that people need help.
Yeah.
And it starts obviously in the US, but I think it's actually a global issue. People are suffering, people are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
The corona pandemic has maybe accelerated some of that.
Mm-hmm.
What will Biden do to collectively to tackle those challenges, the suffering of humankind and animal kind and planet kind?
Yeah, Steve, when I say something that maybe you can name it as a subjective approach, but to be very honest, this is how I think and how I feel. That one way or the other, the powers of the world and the collective thought process of the world, they are trying to be their own god and their own decision maker in a nutshell, and in the final analysis. They are not ready to perceive themselves as the human beings, but they are willing to become the creator of the human beings. I mean, the people and the governments and the administration and the leadership, one way or the other, they end up in becoming the god of the creations, not the creation.
Yeah, good. I think it's a good point. I think I struggle very much to support to really support deeply and to believe in any single politician. Mm-hmm. Even I listen to some politicians in the UK and around the world, and I think I agree with a lot of the comments they make.
Okay,
but would I, and I may, if I have opportunity, even vote for them. Mm-hmm. But I have my personal tendencies. I really struggle to get very, very behind any politician. I studied, and this is something you didn't know, my first degree back in the 1980s.
Okay.
Was in politics, in political science.
Okay.
Political theory.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at that time, and as a young man, very interested in political theory. Mm-hmm. And every time I looked at political theory and its application, it kind of failed.
It is.
And sometimes great politicians and great leaders, and they were always flawed. And sometimes they made advancements. I think society has advanced, mm-hmm. but often at the detriment of other things. So I do, even though I hope Biden does really well, and I'm generally pleased that he's supplanted Trump, I think I'm going to be disappointed.
This is the global sort of disappointment which people see, and then they perceive, and I'm not an American, and I don't have any vote, but the person like Biden, who is speaking his heart out for the public, and with the compassion and with the sympathy and empathy, I would like even to vote if I have a vote, because at least he is using the human values and human sympathetic approach towards changing the things, not pressurizing, not talking about the divisions and the supremacist approach towards the other fellow human beings. So I think there are a couple of issues on which I can say that, okay, the man is going in the right direction. I don't know what's your opinion.
Well, that's a good point as well about division. What I don't like a great deal in politics, mm-hmm. and is when certain groups are blamed for the situation that we have.
Okay.
So groups that are marginalized, whether it's black people or transgender people, or in my case, in my studies, in my PhD, I studied marginalized people. I studied the lived experience of homeless people. Now, homeless people are not usually blamed for the woes of society.
Yes.
But often they're blamed for their own lives. It's seen as a fault, as a character fault of their own existence.
Okay.
And I struggle with that. I find that a very unhelpful way of thinking about life generally. To blame a group for my own woes, to blame us is something, although there may be examples where this is true, it's something that's a sort of I feel very strongly against.
Yeah.
You know, there's some people I know, friends of mine on Facebook and other places. I quite disagree with a lot of their politics and their but I like them as people. They're not bad people. You know, to blame them for society, you know, or for the problems, is probably not really, you know, in my thing. Now, I might blame leaders. I might blame individual politicians, but I find it hard when a politician, and I think Trump, one of the biggest issues I had with him, he blamed other people, whether it was Mexicans or Muslims or black people or poor people, or he blamed them. And it's a politics of division. It's a politics of my problems are because of somebody else. And we saw that.
That's really the point, when you don't take the responsibility, rather you just blame upon others the responsibility. So that's not the good approach even. It was never in the past, and it would never be in the future, I hope so.
Yes.
And
so it's a real challenge.
Now we are coming to our second part of the issue, that we are communicating, because, you know, our approach is we are just communicating to people, not lecturing the people. And it is a sort of dialogue process which we have started in another language. I was already doing this in Punjabi and also in Urdu, but because, you know, there is a certain audience who is comfortable in English. So
and apologies, I don't speak Urdu or Punjabi. I speak Japanese.
Okay.
So my second language is Japanese, but I apologies to your listeners that
no need of any apology, because there are people who have certain languages. So what we can do is that we are just breaking the ice between different cultures and different languages.
I have been. I mean, I think you know, but the listeners don't know. I have been to Pakistan a couple of times in the last 3 or 4 years with a mutual friend of ours.
Okay.
So I have visited Lahore a couple of times. And I have visited Karachi once. So I've spent a few weeks in Pakistan and enjoyed it very much. It's hot, though. It's a little bit hot for me.
It is.
But I found it very interesting, and I met some fantastic people.
Yes,
which is one of the interesting things. If I live just one point, one of the interesting things, I've travelled around the world, many countries, and I've lived abroad for a long time.
Okay.
And when you meet, I guess, real people.
Yeah.
So you know, people who you're always blessed by meeting so much kindness and so much interest and hospitality.
Yeah.
So when I was in Pakistan, I met some fantastic people, but I was blessed to meet people who are super hospitable.
Yeah, hospitality by itself is a blessing. Hospitality by itself, it is a blessing. As the Holy Prophet of Islam said that the guest has a right for hospitality on you.
Absolutely, that's one of the things I think in the West that we could really learn.
Yes, because we should not shy to learn. If there is something good, you can take it from any culture, from any religion, from any background. Yes.
Absolutely. So the second part. So
we were just talking to our audience, because we have just not named this program until now. We are just airing it with the special transmission. Welcome to a special transmission in English. So reason behind this is that we are just throwing the ball towards the audience. That even what do you think that why should we name this program? This is our common program, and a partnership between audience and the hosts. So how do you think we can name it?
So I think we should ask everybody who listens to this to come up with a good name.
Good. That's good.
And maybe because if this is on YouTube, I think they can click a like button for the best name. So
they are already doing that. They are already doing that. But I thought that instead of I choose a name for this program or you choose a name, why should not we ask our audience that they could name
absolutely.
it?
I 100% agree. A good name would be fantastic, and I agree with you. It would be, for me, the reason I want to be involved in this.
Yes.
It's not because I want people to listen to me.
Yeah.
I want people to ask us questions, to provoke us, to have conversations with you, me, and others.
Yes.
That make me think as well.
That's good. That's good. Yes. This is the two-way communication, basically.
100%. So so challenge, ask questions. My academic background is in psychology.
Okay.
But I've also, as I said, did a degree in politics.
Yeah.
And I did my masters in war studies.
Oh, okay.
Not that I'm interested in starting wars. I'm actually interested in why we have wars and what we can do to have less wars.
You know, this may be a coincidence, but back in 2012 there was a project from England launched in Pakistan that was from IWPR, Institute for War and Peace Reporting, and the theme of that project was the impact of conflict and war on the young minds. And in those days, I lead that project in Pakistan in war-torn areas and the Talibanized atrocities areas like Swat and Balakot and like in Karachi some areas, some schools. So at that time, I got the opportunity to interview many people. Even at that time, the a young girl who is now a Nobel laureate in living in UK, the Malala Yousafzai I am talking. She was at that time in class 6 or 7, and I discovered in a way her speaking skills and talking about these educational rights and everything. So it was a good experience at that time. So
fantastic.
Yeah. So I mean, now I was just thinking that if public comes and name their, our audience names the program and they show the interest that we want to listen, our debate, our dialogue, and more guests and discussing more topics without any complex and reservations. So I think this would be. Yeah, I was waiting that you are going to say something.
Oh, sorry. I thought we had a vote. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. I mean, beside naming this, feedback and comments and thoughts and topics.
Yes.
What is important to the people listening to this? What sort of questions? What sort of things would they like us to talk about?
Yes.
That's of value to them, not a value for you and I, but a value to them. So share your thoughts in English or Punjabi or Urdu or whichever language you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
And let's see if we can create a sort of a curriculum.
Yes, that's good. That's good. Curriculum for our future programs. That's nice. I was not hunting and searching for the people who are big names and like professionally sound in the media and the politics because they are the fired cartridges, because they are tuned for a certain corporate sort of communication, and I don't personally believe in that mode of communication, because if you are not able to speak your heart out, then you are just administering something into the ears of people, which I don't believe.
Well, here's another thing to think about. In my research, as I said, I studied psychology. I used something called phenomenology.
Mm-hmm.
which is quite a complex and tricky sort of subject. But phenomenology is about understanding people's lived experience.
Yes.
And one of the things I've learned through doing this, using this in my research, is everybody has an interesting story about their lives and about what they think about.
Yes.
Some of us are less articulate than others. Some of us maybe struggle with the language, with the words, but that doesn't matter. That we can help with that. Everybody listening to this has a unique story, has an interesting opinion.
Yeah.
And the more that we can listen to those and share those, I think will make not just this program.
Yes. That's good. That's good because because now we have almost reached to the end of our program. So I would like to wind up in a way that many years back I watched a movie that was 10 Commandments. So it was about basically the life of Moses and
the movie. Yes.
Yes. I hope so that you have also seen that. So in that there were two women on the water well, and they were just discussing about one of them was from the rural areas and the other was from the urban area of the Pharaoh's town, and both of them were interested in Moses as well, and they were communicating to each other and they were discussing the love. So the woman from, according to that movie, the woman from urban place, she said, in our city people have instinctive and born art of love. They know that how to love. I mean, for them this is a artistical things to love. And the rural woman replied, okay, for them maybe love is an art, but for us it is life. So same, I take it like the communication may be a agenda, maybe a art, maybe a professional, but for me or for us, for our program, I think it should be life, not as not an art.
Absolutely.
So
good point. Good one to finish on.
I think here we can take leave from the audience now collectively, and in the next program after 2-3 weeks or after next month sometime, we would be again together. In the meanwhile, we would be watching and developing the further programs agenda and its points based on the feedback and the comments and the liking of our audience. Stay blessed.
You, yes.
And as we say in Arabics, that fi amanallah, in the protection of Allah, we take leave, and next time see you in the next program positively, and probably we would be expecting that until then you would name our program and we would be presenting next program under the umbrella of the given name by our audience. Stay blessed, stay safe. Assalamu alaikum.